Hello. It's 5 o'clock here. I'm Adam.
I'm Adrian.
Welcome to Casper from the Crypt.
You're going to expose my drinking in the beginning of the episode?
You exposed yourself, good sir.
Well, that was to you. It's fine.
Well, I'm keeping it in.
Yeah, fair enough. Hellboy.
If you're going to crack open a cold one for any movie, it should probably be Hellboy, I think.
Yes. We should specify the Guillermo del Toro 2004 Hellboy,
2004.
not the 2019 reboot.
There's a big difference.
Off the bat, have you seen the 2019 one?
I have not seen the 2019 one. I've, of course, seen the sequel to this one.
Right.
But I had no desire. And then it came out, and everybody said it was the worst movie ever. Maybe we have to watch it.
I'm pretty interested, but it would be hard to top this. This movie's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it's been like 7 years at least since I've seen this movie, maybe more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I watched the sequel immediately afterwards, and I remember really enjoying both of them. But I want to say, after rewatching this one, I might like the sequel more.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I've never seen the second one, which is called The Golden Army. But my understanding is that sequel is pretty well received and people like it more. It improves upon a lot of the stuff that this movie does well, is my understanding.
Yes.
Again, I've never seen it.
Well, the reason I say that is it just felt like this movie, but bigger. Like, there's more monsters, more costumes, more of a practical effects production value that I personally appreciate. That is, for me, why I love this movie and that movie. And so that movie being a little more, you can understand. But then again, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so I will have to rewatch it and then come to my conclusion there. However, not to disparage the charm of this movie. How wonderfully charming is this movie?
Yeah, it is. It's really charming. It's not perfect by any means. It's not some masterpiece. It's not the greatest comic book movie ever made. But I did think it was a lot of fun. And there's a lot about it that surprised me. I've never seen this movie in its entirety until I watched it for this. And I'm really glad that I finally got to it because I like the comics fine. I think Hellboy's a really cool concept. I think the whole, Nazis exploring the occult thing makes for a really interesting story. Yeah, I'm glad I watched it because seeing those things on the screen as opposed to on the page, it was fun. And seeing it done relatively well, too.
Yeah, I've never read the comics, so I'm not coming from a place as a fan of the source material, but
right.
I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro. I'm a fan of practical effects, and I'm a fan of this premise. Yeah. What makes a great comic book? Classic premise you can always go with is Nazis summoning the devil. That's classic. Classic, you need a villain, have some Nazis summon the devil. Bam. Very interesting. You can only go up from there.
Yeah, pretty hardcore villain right there. Makes for, everybody can hate those two things. Demons and Nazis. That's good. I should say, I'm not a huge fan of the comics. I like them fine, right? But I'm pretty familiar, and so I guess I'm not coming at this as a real diehard fan of Mike Mignola or Hellboy. Who knows? I don't know what the hardcore readers feel about this movie. I have no idea. I really didn't read a lot of reviews of this movie. I think people generally like it fine. And I did read that, the sequel is really well received. So, but it's easy with the Nazis summoning the devil or trying to, use the occult to win the war. This is a pretty easy thing to follow. Now, there's not a whole lot going on here that's going to blow your mind, I don't think, unless the prospect of monsters on screen is something that you're not familiar with. Then it might. But for me, this feels very much in the vein of an Underworld or even a Van Helsing, but not as poorly done as either of those movies. I think this is a far better movie. But Putting monsters on screen, presenting a really kind of crazy out there idea. I don't know. I think this does it well. There's a lot of crazy makeup, crazy visual effects in this movie. And for '04, there are parts that made me cringe, of course, because watching it in 2023 when everything is practically photoreal, yeah, you're going to scoff at some shots and some of the creature designs. But really, for the most part, I don't know about you, I found myself kind of shocked at how well a lot of this stuff held up. The beginning is weird. There, the little baby Hellboy that pops up at the beginning, and we can talk about the beginning of this movie more shortly. Ugly, awful, terrible effects. Probably the worst looking thing in the movie. But there's some actually really great VFX in this movie.
Yeah, the effects in this movie are mostly practical. And wow, they're so great. This was like the same era that Guillermo del Toro made Blade 2. And so this was his, like, fun costume era. Maybe he never really left that era, I guess. He loves a good fun costume, but this is, like, when he was starting out as, like, this kind of just comic book movie director and was making stuff like this. And I love to see the production, the craftsmanship, and the love put into these costumes. Hellboy himself, very important to get done right. And he looks great. He looks perfect. Cartoon on screen, great. No notes,
Also, the props are really cool. Like, Hellboy has that gun. What's it called?
The Samaritan.
There it is, the Samaritan. That thing looks so cool. And I know it's a prop, and it's probably a pretty heavy chunk of metal, I imagine, because it looks like it is. And I know that Guillermo del Toro owns it still. I believe it's in his house. But it's really neat to see such an intricate prop, right? It's same thing with his hand. There are certain shots where it is a CG hand because it's probably not very maneuverable. The articulation probably isn't there with that stone arm that he has. So they do have to utilize CGI from time to time. But just the attention to detail in all the things surrounding Hellboy, I think is really cool. The horns being shaved down look really great. Like I said, that stone arm, the Samaritan. I love his trench coat. I think Ron Perlman is just a really imposing dude, and so he's really interesting to watch on screen. And definitely caught my attention the entirety of the movie. Just that character's design. And the other ones are pretty cool too. I loved Abe Sapien.
Right. This is proto Shape of Water, because this Doug Jones is a fish guy again, isn't it?
And you feel it throughout the movie. You start to watch it, and you see Doug Jones doing those mannerisms, the wide-eyed blinking, right? Even eating eggs and shoving them in his face. There's a lot of similarities in the mannerisms that he uses with Abe Sapien and the fish monster in Shape of Water. And I thought that was really cool, just to see that through line, to see how deep those roots were for Guillermo. As you kind of spoke to, the evolution of a director. Because this is such an early work. I mean, it really is. This is a huge, big budget production that he did. Very early in his career. It's been 20 years since this, so just super neat.
Oh, man. The effects are great in this movie when they're practical. Now, like you said, the monkey boy at the beginning was not looking very good, but there's a lot of CGI in this movie that doesn't work, and it's just the CGI. Like, it really is the difference between this movie and the next movie is the next movie uses a little less CGI. The next movie also had a bigger budget. This movie had $66 million to work with, and the next one had $85 million. So, I mean, that money goes a long way, clearly. And then it also felt like Guillermo del Toro wanting to just make a bunch of costumes. But that's what this movie feels like, too. This is very campy. It's very, this is a comic book someone threw up on screen. So I can understand if maybe that's not your thing, but I can appreciate this movie very much for what it is and what it's trying to be. I think it accomplishes its goals, if that makes sense.
I do too. That's the thing I love about Del Toro so much is he and yes, there's CGI in this movie, and it can look bad. But today, in the era that we're in of filmmaking, and this is a lukewarm take. Everybody, I think a lot of people that make film media feel this way, but I'll say it nonetheless. We get so many comic book movies every year now, right? In the tens of movies. And they're so CGI heavy. And it's not that doesn't take craftsmanship and work. It totally does. And the people that do that should be respected. But Del Toro, since Hellboy, since '04, and to this day, puts so much love into every design, into every detail of the world that he is trying to show his audience. And it makes watching his movies so refreshing. It made Shape of Water refreshing that year that it came out. And it makes watching this Hellboy comic book adaptation in 23, knowing what I know about the comic book movie industry, so refreshing. Like a glass of lemonade on a hot Texas day. It's really, really nice. And you see the guy's house, right? I've watched interviews. I'm sure you have too. You see Del Toro's house, and he's surrounded by his creations and by the creations that, defined his work. And you know that he's such a fan of horror and sci-fi and of creatures. And you see it in his work. And even the stuff that I don't think is awesome, because I don't think this movie is fantastic. I don't think it's perfect. I still just have so much love for it because I love what he's doing and what he stands for as a creator. So yeah, I think this movie succeeds for the people that want to see that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. You got to know what you're getting into. You got to be here for that. But I was here for it. I love it. I don't think it's perfect either because okay, this is what I mean by you have to be into this sort of thing. The plot is very comic book. It's a very 2004 comic book. So it's, dumb and zany. But that's what this movie is. Gotta be here for that. There's so much that happens. It's just hilarious, I guess. It's just so ridiculous. But then again, it's Hellboy.
So the movie starts, the cold open. It's 1940s, World War II. The Nazis are building a interdimensional portal of sorts that they are hoping will help them defeat the Allies. They are trying to free what's the thing's name?
I don't know, but it's like this Lovecraft monster.
Yeah. Basically, a portal to hell. They're trying to utilize the portal to hell to win. And they're also they have the help of Rasputin, who is a major character in this story.
Arguably, he's the main villain of this story.
He is the main villain.
And, that's one more thing about, Nazis being evil. And that's kind of like a setup for a fun movie. Second best setup. Grigory Rasputin being an evil wizard. We got both of those in this beautiful movie.
Yeah, it's fun. I tend to like alt history stuff like that. I do think that it makes for a pretty good premise, and I buy in immediately. Nazis trying to summon demons. Rasputin is immortal and a wizard. Yeah, that's great. But basically, right, the Allies now are concerned, rightfully so, and they want to stop this portal from being opened. They lead an attack on the Germans. They ultimately kill the Germans in this attack. They destroy the portal, which absorbs Rasputin, though a couple of other people escape, who we'll talk about later. And they find, because the portal was open for a while, they find that a little dude, a little creature, a little demon made its way out, and that is Hellboy. And that's what they name him, and Bruttenholm adopts him as his own son, and we have a movie. And they take a picture with him, and it's the goofiest freaking segue
my God.
out of a
It looks like
open.
like one of those like really badly edited like goblin caught on film. It looks like a really bad edit like that.
That's generous. I think it looks straight up like a Neopet. like it's like a picture of these dudes,
does.
And they're posing and they're looking at the camera. You know, like a World War II shot, right? Post battle, but then you just slap a Neopet in the middle of it.
That's exactly what it looks like.
The whole picture is black and white, and Hellboy is still red. So it's literally like they put Neopet.jpg on top of an old black and white war picture, and that's in the movie. That's in the final cut.
Yeah, that's easily the worst visual effect you have to sit through.
Yes.
But everything else...
No, it is. It's definitely the worst.
And I guess we'll get on to the second worst later, but hearing you describe that cold open, I was like stifling laughter the whole time, because wow. Like, it's the first note we hit going into this movie.
Yeah. No, a lot happens just in the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, action-packed, for sure. Well, we cut from that. We go to modern day. Yeah. I am 68% sure it takes place in DC. So I'm going to say it takes place in DC and move on. Well, anyways, cut to them in DC. They work in...
Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. BPRD.
Yes, the BPRD. It's a secret FBI subsidiary that no one knows about, and one of their assets is Hellboy. They send him and Abe Sapien out to hunt all the things that go bump in the night.
And you can just imagine that, like, before Hellboy was a thing, these guys were just sitting around speculating and being lame.
I know, it's just a bunch of suits.
These were the dregs of the FBI. These were the guys that were, like, overweight, and they couldn't be out in the field, and then Hellboy came along and they had a job.
Yeah, they were goofy. It was like Space Force. But then demons actually did show up, so it worked out.
Right.
They make, like, a bunch of great jokes about stuff like that. How 2004 is this movie, too? Like, this movie really had to come out. Like, this is the underworld, Van Helsing era, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah. there was a craze for this kind of thing.
It's very, very early 2000s. I'd say the only thing that is more early 2000s than this movie, to me, is Trick or Treat.
That's fair.
They feel... This feels very, very similar. It's just very hokey. It borders on camp, I'd say 90% of the time.
I think it crosses that line quite a few times.
Yeah, that's fair. But it doesn't do so in an obnoxious way. It's almost... I think it's self-aware, though I've been known to just enjoy blatantly hokey media, so... It's there. It's the way Ron Perlman's performance is so much. He's such a ham in this movie. Hellboy, the character, is ridiculous. The one-liners are aggressive, and they happen often. The whole character of Liz, the love interest, who I'm sure you have so much to say about.
I have a lot to say about Liz.
She's such an edgy it girl. She's so different. So different, in fact, that she's committed herself to a mental hospital. It's a major part of the movie.
I was gonna say, like, he wanted a goth girlfriend, so he went to the source of that stream, you know what I mean? Broke into the mental hospital and found a girlfriend.
Yeah, dude. Good on him. That's how it is. But, yeah. Just all of that is so ridiculous. It's very Bring Me to Life.
It's so Bring Me to Life, yeah. No, yeah, she looks very reminiscent of Amy Lee. And thinking about it, like, the first time I watched the movie, I definitely thought that. But upon review of this movie, it feels like she's just a girl that this movie follows around and just kind of portrays that way. Like, she doesn't do anything, like, overtly edgy at any point. Like, she just has black hair. That's, like, the main thing. And then she wears all black later, but it was just, like, a sweater and a beret. And I don't know if that's I don't know. Maybe she's just a normal girl.
But her whole thing is, like, I can't control my powers. I'm too strong.
There is that,
like,
too.
That's the whole thing. And Liz is played by Selma Blair. I think she's fun and fine in this movie. I'm not trying to knock her. And I actually thought the love story was cute, personally. You know, I mean, does it border on the cringy? Yes, of course. But it's 2004. It's a demon hooking up with a human, like, mage.
Yeah.
It's about as good as it can be.
This movie does not pass the Bechdel test. Also.
No.
Not remotely.
Probably not. Yeah.
But, yeah, she is what I was talking about earlier when I said there's a little more bad CGI. She has fire powers. And she gets set on fire all the time, and, like, it does not look good at all.
Yeah, not really.
It's blue
She's
fire.
engulfed in, like, blue flames, yeah, and it looks pretty bad. I will say, keep in mind, this is the year of Spider-Man 2, right? If you've ever watched Sam Raimi's trilogy, it's a lovely trilogy, one of my favorites, especially the first two. But there's parts where you're like, "Ooh, that does not hold up." I'd say it's comparable. I think, considering it was 2004, we gotta forgive it.
Yeah, I can accept it too. I do give it more leniency when I consider that when they had more money later, they did try to make it more practical. So it did feel more like they kind of just had to make it CGI because they didn't have the same production. So I'll give it that pretty easily. Yeah, they have to... this freaking plot. First of all, the guy that plays Rasputin, his name is Carl Roden, and he does not remotely look like Rasputin.
Not really, no. I looked it up.
He's just a guy with a Russian accent and a dark beard, and that is it. The beard's like curly. It's not even the same texture. Like, I guess that was good enough. But at one point they show like a drawing of Rasputin, and it looks way more like Rasputin than this man does. But whatever. He's got this like weird, like Chris Angel, David Copperfield, modern magician look to him. He always wears like a crazy fur coat, and then these stupid 2004 sunglasses. Oh my god, they're like little tiny rectangles, but then they have like side blinds, so the sun can't even get to your eye from the side. And they're so stupid, and they're so 2004. And I love them, and he wears them like if they're in a cave, he's still wearing them. Like,
they have this whole like subplot with his bombshell Nazi girlfriend.
Yeah, a bombshell Nazi girlfriend also just... I don't think she does anything. Like, she does not need to be there. She's just because they wanted Isla She-Wolf for the SS.
Yes, that's what it is, and it's painful.
Her name is Issa too, also.
Yeah, but it's fun in a weird way. It's fun to laugh at.
Yeah, it's hilarious. No, I'm very glad.
Definitely, in my opinion, Grigory is the... I guess I'll just call him Rasputin, but he's the worst character.
You're on a first-name basis. You're friends.
Yeah, we are. Friend of the show. Easily the worst, least engaging character in the movie, for me. And that could seem weird, considering that he is, arguably the main villain. But it doesn't matter. I think that the main core ensemble is interesting enough that it's cool. I don't know. It all felt fine to me. It didn't really bother me at all. There are some annoying characters within that core ensemble. Like, I don't know how you felt about Tom Manning, the character, played by Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah.
Just awful. Just awful.
Shout out to Jeffrey Tambor, though. I don't know. I kind of liked it on a certain level because of how, like, just ridiculous and dumb it is.
Painful. But yeah, sure. I'll give you that.
So the shtick is that this guy is like he's like higher up on the ladder, on the chain of command, and he comes in and he's trying to take over the bureau, and he's in charge, and they're going to do it his way, and he's like really trying to be a micromanager and is asserting himself too much to the point that it's hindering all of their operations. And he has this dumb butting heads with Hellboy thing going on through the whole movie. And then at the end, like, they kind of learn to be buds. And it's so stupid. He's such a, unnecessary character.
They literally bond on him teaching Hellboy how to smoke or light a cigar.
Yeah, light it with a match. A lighter.
Preserves the flavor.
Yeah, and that in that one scene was like their whole friendship building, and like that was pretty much it. And I believed it though, because that's both of these characters' gimmick is they smoke cigars permanently.
They love stogies. Yeah.
They love a stogie.
Yeah. I don't know how Hellboy is constantly smoking cigars.
Because fire doesn't affect him.
Yeah, but it's tobacco.
Yeah, but the smoke won't hurt him.
Fair enough.
So he can smoke forever. Which, that's his true superhero. His true superpower is he can smoke forever. With having zero damage. Sickness. Yeah, no sickness, no damage. He can just smoke forever. What a legend.
Yeah. Oh, something I personally really loved about Hellboy that I didn't remember from the comics. Again, I have some exposure to them, but not that much. He loves cats.
Oh, yeah, he has like 20 cats.
Yeah, he's got like 1,000 cats in his apartment, or his little room, his vault room.
Yeah,
and I love it. I thought it was sweet.
Honestly, I thought it was a little gross. It made me question like how many cats is a gross amount of cats, and I thought this might be that amount.
I think beyond the amount I have. I think 2 is.
Well, I think 3 would be hard. You got.
Yeah, that's true. I think 3 would be tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loves them. Mind you, he's got like 20 in, maybe a 400 square foot room.
Yeah. That's made of metal and has no windows, and those cats have never seen the sunlight.
Poor things.
I know. Well, they live
he takes care of them.
Yeah, he takes care of them. Well, moving on to I didn't think you were going to talk about Jeffrey Tambor's character when you started talking about a character you hate. I thought you were going to talk about Rupert Evans as John Myers.
Myers sucks.
What is the point of this character? His name is, first off, his name's John Myers, which is generic McGeneral. The most generic name, and then he's the most nothing, non-existent character. He'd be like, if this was a video game, he'd be the character you play as if you don't play as Hellboy. But also, this isn't a video game, this is a movie. So why is he here?
Yeah.
He looks boring. I don't think he does anything. He makes no real importance.
Right. He's a pretty major in that he has a lot of screen time in this movie. He's a major character. He's basically Hellboy's keeper throughout the movie. He's like assigned to make sure he doesn't get into too much trouble, I guess. And he's also kind of his foil because he definitely wants to hook up with Liz. And there's a bunch of will they, won't they in the beginning of the movie, especially the first act. And Hellboy is very jealous of John and is very upset that it seems that Liz is into him, but of course she's not, right? She's into Hellboy. She loves Hellboy. And I didn't care. I would have thought that because there's the whole thing with Liz needing to stay away with Hellboy because she needs to move on with her life, right? She has put herself in this asylum basically to protect other people, to protect herself. And, she wants to part ways with him, not because she dislikes him, but because they're going to get into trouble together, right? They are two supernatural beings. They're probably prone to getting into scraps and stuff. And, she sees it as a necessity to part with him. And I thought that would have been fine alone. I didn't need Myers to be in there and be some sort of foil to Hellboy.
He has no
And yeah, you're right.
character.
He's so generic. No, yeah, you're right. He's super generic. He has no character. The guy, so generic, I couldn't even find his picture on Wikipedia.
I don't know what the reason... Like, he is... Honestly, how, like, a lot of female characters are portrayed in these early 2000s comic book movies of, like, they're there, so there's a female character. And that's, like, kind of what Liz is, but honestly, Liz is way more existent. Has superpowers, at least. Who is this guy? Who the heck is this guy? At the beginning of the movie, he exists purely so the characters have someone to tell the plot and premise to at the beginning of this movie. Like, this is Hellboy, this is our home, let me give you a tour of the base. Like, stuff like that. And then after that, he just rapidly loses importance. And by the end of the movie, you're like, I hope he's not in the second one. Liz does not have nearly enough screen time, I think, compared to this guy, because she, like, does have importance to the plot, and at least has importance to Hellboy. And, like, half of what he does is motivated by her. And she has superpowers too. She's like part of this monster squad. But she's like maybe on screen as much as he is. Despite she seems to have way more significance. So it's a little weird. I
mean, thinking back on it, it's annoying, I suppose. But there is really a lot of stuff in this movie that is just so fun and high octane that I forgave it. You know?
Yeah. Well, these are all, like, legitimate criticisms, and they sound bad, not when we're describing them, but, like, they honestly do not impede your enjoyment of this movie almost at all. Like I said, I kind of liked the Jeffrey Tambor, Tom Manning character because of how stupid and, like, overtly, we're not so different after all. It is, like, it made me laugh. I did enjoy it.
Okay, so back to this cluster of a story. Basically, they use Hellboy as an agent along with Abe Sapien, who is this amphibious psychic creature. I don't know how else to describe him. He's hyper-intelligent. He's hyper-intelligent, and that's basically it, but he's also an amphibian, so there's a whole water sequence with him. Other than that, though, he's just kind of cool to look at. I love his design. But anyway, the team, which consists of Hellboy and Abe, is sent to investigate something that happened at the museum, or a museum, rather. And this is kind of our first intro to the other creatures and the evil side of this movie. He has a pretty epic battle with a demon named, is it Samael?
Yes.
Really interesting creature design here. I looked up Samael, and, you know, has roots in Judeo-Christian lore, kind of like an archangel, fallen angel sort. In this movie, he looks like a Lovecraftian hellhound. I mean, that's basically what he is. And they refer to him as a hellhound, right, in the movie?
Yes.
But anyway, it's our first big battle. And after defeating the demon, that's when Hellboy goes to visit a former member of the team, the BPRD team, Liz. And we kind of get an intro into their little love affair, and we find out that she has committed herself to this asylum because she just can't control these powers that she has. She's got these pyrokinetic abilities, and she is just kind of unstable. It's after this that Abe, because he's the smart one of the group, right? Each of them has kind of an archetype. He learns that Samael, the demon that Hellboy defeated at the museum, was actually brought into this plane, into this dimension, by Rasputin. And Rasputin has given Samael this, like, special power to, I guess, repopulate, right? And make more of himself. And the creature can actually lay eggs, which is not good for Earth, that this archangel demon hellhound can lay eggs and repopulate.
So, okay, there's a few things about him. First of all, one thing I really liked is they never overtly say it, And this movie is very, like, on the nose. This is the plot. We're describing it to you right now. But one thing they never overtly say, but they show it a few times, and it's obvious that this is the mechanic, is Samael lays these eggs, and then if Samael gets killed, 2 eggs hatch. And if one of those gets killed, 2 eggs hatch. So it's like a Hydra situation, but with the eggs hatching. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And they never, like, say it out loud, but, like, that's how it works. I really like Samael. He's cool. He's very, very fun design. Very unique. But
yeah, super weird.
I found myself wanting there to be another monster. Because they kind of introduce him at the beginning of the movie as this lighthearted, like, this is the warm-up monster, you know? Like, we start off with this one and then we'll work our way up to bigger monsters. But then it's just, like, more of him, more of this thing, more of them. And that's not as impressive. But then again, like I said, the sequel remedies this complaint. And then, of course, the good thing about this movie is there's a few villains. So, like, yeah, Rasputin might be dumb and not very interesting. You might see a lot of Samael. But there's also, well, Karl Ruprecht Kronen. What you think at first is, like, I don't know. It shows up in the first scene as a Nazi with a crazy steampunk mask. And so already you're, like, eating it up. Easily my favorite character, my favorite villain. I'll assume the same might be said for you.
Oh, yeah. Super cool. Really, really interesting and ornate design. And then, you know, the costume itself is cool. But later on, when they reveal his body, it's even more interesting, which I think is awesome.
Yes. I didn't think we'd see his body.
No, me neither.
He could have just been an automaton, and, like, they discover that. But no. He takes the mask off, and it's great. He looks great under the mask. Eventually we learn that, like, the reason he's immortal and living forever, and, like, he gets shot a few times, gets, like, stabbed in the heart, and just, like, shrugs it off. We find out he's, like, entirely, like, a clockwork man. He's had all his body parts replaced with Nazi cyborg technology, and his blood is sand, and, like, he's super cool. He's, like, this mystic, evil, undead-ish Nazi agent, and when he takes his mask off, he's got, like, his whole body is stitched together like Frankenstein. He doesn't have any eyelids. He doesn't have any lips. And he's freaky looking.
Yeah, very Frankenstein-esque, very, I don't know, just kind of chilling. Definitely the creepiest design in the entire movie. You know, the demon creatures, whatever, they look cool, but they're not creepy. This is an eerie design. The eyes. The eyes. He's got no eyelids, and so the way that they move, and they're so old and so void of life. It's unsettling and a lot of fun. Makes for a really great baddie.
Yeah, how many like legitimate horror movies, like slasher movies where some huge monstrous dude has a mask and he's murdering people? How many times do they take the mask off and reveal the face, and it's so disappointing and just unfrightening? Picture any of those times you were disappointed and replace that face with this face. 1,000 times better, right? He could have been a slasher monster. Easily.
Oh, yeah.
He's freaky Absolutely. Enough. He's way freakier than I think any of the Jason face reveals. That's just me.
Yeah, he's freakier, but is he more fun?
He's scarier.
He is scarier. That's true.
He'd serve that end better.
Fair enough.
Maybe those were fighting words coming for Jason like that, so I'll apologize.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I agree with you. A great design. Yeah, he's very imposing throughout the whole movie. He's like super acrobatic. At points feels undefeatable. And I'd argue, you know, yeah, the arm blades are crazy. It's like something out of Assassin's Creed, but cooler, way more interesting. He's super fast. Just his body's very malleable. When he gets shot, the dust from his what used to be organs spills out. And yeah, he feels just unbeatable and immortal. And every time he's on screen, there's that feeling like, uh-oh, here we go. We're going to see something really cool. And I like the way that he dies, too. I thought that was cool. Though, I don't know. I haven't seen the sequel. Is he dead?
Do you want me to just tell you?
Yeah, I imagine they bring him back.
No, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead.
Really?
Yeah, I don't bring him back. They got other monsters to show on screen, my guy.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, isn't there like elves in the second movie?
There's like everything in the second movie. There's a bunch of freaky stuff. Back to this movie. We're itching for the next movie.
We are.
But back to this movie. I don't know. I didn't like the way he died, honestly. He falls into a pit of spikes. But like the pit is like 2 feet below the ground. Like it wasn't much of a fall. I feel like he could shrug it off. He could have got back up.
But what do you want him to do? Well,
falling in a pit of spikes though is pretty.
Into the spikes, and then Hellboy throws stuff on top of him.
Yeah, that's true. It was like pretty fitting. No, because that's pretty dramatic. That's pretty final boss.
Yeah. How do you get out of that? I couldn't.
He doesn't. He can't. Rest in peace. To Rupert.
Who knows? I know that. My understanding is that this franchise was cut short.
Yes. Watching the second one, it feels like, man, this should have been a trilogy. Where's the third movie?
Ugh, such a shame.
It luckily doesn't end on like a cliffhanger or anything, but it feels like there could have been another one, you know?
That's good. I think I'm gonna watch that tonight, the second one.
Yeah. Maybe I will too. Oh. I kind of want to watch the new one. 2019.
Me too. I'm morbidly
to see, just because at this point, yeah, I wonder how it is. But like I said, this movie being so 2004, so like it feels like it could have only come out in the time where comic book companies weren't making cinematic universes and weren't thinking about maintaining a brand consistent throughout all of their movies. Like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. It's not Marvel MCU Spider-Man. It very much feels like a director has a passion for a story he's telling and he's making it his own and he's just telling a story. And that's what this feels like too. They feel like auteurs, more so than it feels like a company making another puzzle piece or making another movie like the ones you've seen before. And so I can't imagine that in the 2019 climate of this is how comic movies are made now, I can't imagine it would compare at all to this.
I don't think it would either.
Yeah, and I mean, so many planets aligned for this movie. Like Guillermo del Toro as the director, Ron Perlman, by the way. Mwah. Like he does such a good job. He's such a good Hellboy. He really seems to have a grasp of the character, and is like, I don't know, like Hellboy is easily the best character, which it should be, but is so great to see. Like just seeing him do stuff like drink milk, something dumb, like is so entertaining.
Yeah, no, I agree. He brings a lot to it. I was reading up, they had considered a bunch of different people for this role. I think Del Toro always wanted to work with Perlman, which the studio found controversial. They had suggested, who was it? Jeremy Renner. Could you imagine Jeremy Renner's goofy ass in this movie? Dude, Hawkeye.
Oh, really?
Yes. God.
That would be terrible.
God,
this movie would not be nearly as good. I couldn't imagine.
And then Vin Diesel, who I suppose I could see maybe in an alternate timeline as Hellboy, but no. Perlman's so good. He's a lot of fun in this movie. And I'm not a huge Ron Perlman fanboy. He's in Alien 3, and he is awful in that movie. Just terrible. My least favorite part of that movie, which is saying something, because that movie sucks. But I think he's great here. I mean, I don't know what he did. I think, I don't know if it was Guillermo or if it was him or a combo. Probably that. But they found something. And it works. He's charming. The dialogue in this movie is often very laughable. Especially the writing for Hellboy's character, just the one-liners he says.
But it feels like it should be, right?
Right. It does. It does. It's very tongue-in-cheek. But my point, some schmo might really struggle delivering those lines well and effectively. And I don't think he does. I don't know. It feels good. It feels right. You laugh, not at him, but with him.
Yeah. And it's also like just his voice is so perfect for smooth talking one-liner devil detective in a trench coat,
Absolutely. Yeah. Great casting. In fact, I thought everyone was pretty well casted in this movie. There's plenty of characters that I'm like, what is this? But I didn't think any of the actors were at fault. I actually thought everybody was pretty effective in their role.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Tambor was being himself as he would do, and it was 2004 Jeffrey Tambor. He's doing this bit like in every movie he's in. Rupert Evans is giving us his all, which is nothing, because his character is nothing, but 0 times 0. Sorry, Rupert, but it's also not like this is requiring an Oscar performance either, like it's Hellboy, but still.
No, yeah, I agree. I think everybody's fine in this. There wasn't anything that stood out to me as poorly done as far as performances go. But yeah, Ron Perlman's great in it. And I had high expectations for the character because I know people really like this movie and people really like Ron Perlman as this character. And my expectations were met. I felt good watching it.
That's great to hear. I'm glad you just enjoyed it. I love watching this movie. It's a fun watch. It's an easy watch.
It is. It's an easy watch. Really scratches the itch. I don't know if I talked to you about it or what, but recently I have just been in the mood for demon-killing schlock.
Oh, yeah, I've noticed that.
I might have even said it on this. I might have even said it on this show. You've noticed that?
Yeah. I don't know what's up with you right now. You played Doom yet?
Oh, I've been playing Doom.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the problem. I've been playing Doom and I've been playing Diablo 4. And that's a lot of demon killing.
And now you've got this. Yeah. Now the demon's on your side. He's the good guy.
Yeah. Scratches that itch is what I'm saying. And you can always count on Del Toro to make schlock that's actually good and interesting. I should note, I actually think the romance in this movie between Liz and Hellboy is effective. Personally. Yes, there's a lot of corny, cringy stuff. I think it's a symptom of the archetypes that they play, right? The reclusive bad boy, the bad girl trying to be good, but she falls back into her old ways. It's dumb. It's stupid, but it's fun. And I think the characterization here is solid enough that I'm not like offended or aghast while I'm watching it. I'm actually enjoying it. And I thought it was cute. The funniest part of this movie, the part that made me laugh out loud, is Hellboy and Liz have a pretty long makeout scene where they establish early on in the movie when she feels passionate, whether it's like angry passionate or I guess lust passionate, she engulfs in flames.
Yeah.
And while they're making out, she lights on fire. And there's this funny hard cut to Myers, like just staring at them making out.
Oh, I thought that was so funny. What a cuck.
Yeah, I guess he's filled with like both. Yeah, it's a cuckold moment. It really is.
Bested.
And I don't know if he's filled with like both joy and jealousy or what, but he's just got this stupid look on his face while he's watching them. And he's like a blue tint because the light is reflecting off of him from the fire. And you would think he would leave. I'm sure it's hot. There's fire right there in front of you, but he doesn't. He just sits and watches. And it's super weird, but it's very funny. Fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah, she checks into that ward to escape her fire. Like, I don't know how that ward was supposed to help her with her fire powers. Because then later on, Grigori induces her powers to spring up while she's asleep. And it, like, burns down the hospital. Like, why didn't she go to a fireproof room? Like, why did she have to go to a mental hospital?
Maybe her being in there was contingent upon them thinking that she didn't really have fire powers.
Well, I think it was also because, like, she was traumatized because she, like, burned her parents. And, like, a bunch of people keep getting burned around her because she set stuff on fire, you know? But, like, she went into...
More people got burned.
Yeah, like, why would you go into a wooden building with a bunch of other people if that was your primary concern?
Yeah, that's true. Like, go live in a cabin.
Not, like... They showed her room, too, and it was, like, wooden desk, wooden chairs, some linens, some, like... old drape on the wall. You know, it was like very just noticeably flammable.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying just like go live, even if you burn down your own home eventually, at least you're by yourself, you know, go be alone. I guess you can't be in the woods because she'll start like a wildfire, but like go be in some desert.
Live on the coast.
Go live in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, or on the coast. Exactly. Buy some water, but do something different. But the thing, I think it's because she never really wanted to be far from HB. Oh my god, did you like that? She calls him
I
HB?
lost my mind. She calls him HB because... Which, admittedly, like, throughout the movie, I was like, his name is just Hellboy. Like, imagine your whole life your name is Hellboy.
Right.
But HB...
No, that'd be tough.
HB
is an awful nickname.
HB.
They call him a few different... Oh, she calls him, like,
she calls him Red. Red or HB.
HB.
It's usually
like,
Red.
One.
HB, I think, once, and that's why it was even more jarring, is because it's like, she's never said this before, but suddenly he's HB.
Yeah, in fact, you're right. It's the first thing that she calls him, and then she never does it again. She keeps calling him Red, which made me think maybe that first scene where she calls him HB was shot before a major rewrite.
Before they thought that's a dumb nickname.
Before they were like, HB is... the kid that ate glue.
HB is the kid who ate glue and is not named HB, but wants you to call him that anyway.
Right. You know, stupid.
Yeah.
I'm glad I remembered that.
No, but it's stuff like that is also why I love this movie. It's because she looks at him and goes, HB. I lost in my mind.
No, it's fun. It's fun. I think the romance is cute. It really doesn't bother me. The worst part of the romance is the inclusion of Myers. But I think that's more of a testament to his character being useless and not so much the romance itself being bad. You know, there's actually some funny moments with HB. One of my favorite scenes of the movie is he goes on the rooftop when Myers is on... what looks like a date with Liz. They go and they get a cup of coffee and they're sitting on a park bench and he's watching them and she is very very different. And she's like, let me take your Polaroid picture.
Oh, she is. You're right.
To Myers.
You're so right.
Yeah. And so she has Myers sit on the bench and she takes his picture and Hellboy is like, oh, she took his picture. She took his picture. Oh, and he throws a rock at Myers' head from the rooftop.
Yeah.
And, kind of an unhinged moment, but just hilarious. Made me laugh out loud.
He meets a child and befriends him on the rooftop. The child keeps pigeons on the rooftop. Yes. And so they kind of become friends. And it's that scene and scenes like it that make me say sometimes this movie crosses into camp, but it does it absolutely consciously. Like
oh yeah,
he put a child who's a pigeon keeper in this movie. You know, like, it's there on purpose.
I was watching. This is kind of unrelated, but also kind of related. I was watching Barry. I promise. There's a through line. No, there is. I was watching Barry, and Del Toro is in the fourth season. He's in it for like a minute. This is not a spoiler. He's in it for like a season or an episode, and he is so bad, so unfortunately awful on screen. He's got no presence. He murmurs his lines. It's so awful.
That's crazy.
And I was thinking, I know, and I was like, huh, I don't know, man. If a director really can't act, I do start to ask questions.
That's crazy, yeah.
But I'm gonna forgive my man because I like the stuff he puts out. And so, yes, it's probably their intention. I'm still going to continue to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though, man, seeing him on screen like that, I was like, oof, okay, maybe he's just had a stroke of luck. I don't know.
Why it was that bad?
I mean, he's pretty bad.
It made you completely question his entire career, though.
No, you're right. I don't question his entire career. I think some people are more suited to direction than acting.
He is definitely one of them, I suppose.
Christ. But anyway, I digress.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I've said my piece.
Me too. This is a good-ass movie. Just go watch, and by good-ass, I mean it's fun. Just go watch the movie. It's fun. You're not... The thing is, like, I hate the modern comic book movie. I do, and I know that you are also not a huge fan. And I enjoy this movie. So I think that this predates all the just really formulaic garbage MCU, DCU stuff. And it's fun. I mean, I would characterize this more as a kind of monster action movie than I would a comic book adaptation. Even though it is an adaptation of a comic book, it feels like something different just because Del Toro is at the helm and, there's a lot of really fun stuff in this film beyond its roots.
Yeah. I love this movie. I'm glad we got to rewatch it. It's been a minute. I didn't realize how long it had been until I started watching it, and I was like, man, it feels like it's been a while. Yeah, and then I thought about it. It's been forever since I've seen this movie. I'm glad. Thank you for watching it, Adrian.
No, I'm glad that you put me on. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I might have to watch the sequel now. Well,
I think I'm going to as well.
All right. Well, maybe we'll talk about it. Thanks for joining me, Adrian.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. And goodbye.